And a good morning to you.
Hey, it's a wonderful Wednesday here at Rural Community Solutions. I'm Kim Spillers.
And I'm Frank Spillers, and welcome to Rural Community Solutions TV live stream as we talk about how to design family-friendly, youth-centered places that attract people. And today it is
drumroll
interview day. Da, da, da. All right, and we've got a great one for you today. We're pretty excited about this one.
We're actually really excited to welcome Jared Arnett. Jared is the current executive director of SOAR, S-O-A-R. Hi, Jared. We're so glad you're here.
Hey, guys. Glad to be here.
Yeah, SOAR. Well, I guess on the podcast, you can't see this. So SOAR is shaping our Appalachian region. And Jared has been in this position since 2014 as the executive director. He's done all kinds of wonderful things. He has a history in chamber work. He is innovative, and he's created all kinds of wonderful small business opportunities. Holy cow, the president, the CEO, you've done strategic geographic expansion. You've done director of finance. You have quite the background.
This is an exciting time, because why we wanted Jared on the show is because, our theme is think like an entrepreneur, but become a spark plug.
Yes.
And become a spark plug. Thinking like an entrepreneur sometimes means taking an entrepreneur and putting him in different positions, or having an entrepreneur look at needs and then crafting a solution and creating that. And that's why we're really excited to have Jared on, because that's exactly what he has done.
And so he has taken all of the background experience, and in true entrepreneurial form, we have learned actually that Jared will be transitioning into a whole new role. So Jared, why don't you just go ahead and tell us a little bit about where you are going when you are no longer with SOAR, which is going to be very soon. So give us the latest.
Yeah. So I guess the last 10 years or so, I've had somewhat of a life goal to be self-employed and, not have a full-time gig. And so I promised myself when I came to SOAR that I wouldn't leave for a full-time job. And so I've poured my life into it for the last 6 years and working to build something that is now influential. It's impactful. It's thanks to lots of partners who believed in the work that we were doing. And I felt like it was time for me to make a transition. I felt like it would be best for SOAR to have the next chapter of leadership, and for me to take, some personal risk and jump out and work to be self-employed. I do several other things. I'm a co-founder of an online guitar store here based in Eastern Kentucky. And I've not got to spend much time there. I pastor a church, and so I'm involved in several things that I'm going to take some time doing that, but also, hopefully start some new businesses and do some consulting and speaking, and we'll just see what the future holds. That's kind of where we're at. I love uncertainty, so I'm so excited.
Oh gosh, my wife is doing this.
Yeah.
She must be entrepreneurial as well, or she
is. She is all in, yeah.
Oh my gosh, that is so exciting. So you have just a really rich history from your chamber work and bringing that into SOAR. What would you say? So what we thought we'd do is to have kind of like a little exit interview with Jared. And so one of the things that we'd want to know is what was one of your biggest learning moments or lessons learned from your time with SOAR?
I think definitely can speak to the fact that we were, one of my board members said, when I first started, he said, here's one lesson. He said, communicate, communicate, communicate. And then when you're tired of communicating, communicate. And the work that we do, working for a board of directors, working with so many legislators, with government officials, business officials, just really to take that thought process in hand in a leadership role, specifically about the importance of communicating what you're doing, where you're headed. The old adage is, if you don't share your vision with your team, then they'll make up their own. So just continually guide the region and guide your team, guide the staff. And, our role at SOAR is a collective impact organization. was really to be a leader in the region and lead all these autonomous organizations and try to get them all working together toward common goals. So communication, for sure.
Okay, and we kind of go along with a formula of you see a need, you find a solution, and you define the outcome. What did you see now? And I'm trying to lead back into what SOAR is. What's the core SOAR? Why was SOAR formed? And how did you, as a founding executive director, how did you identify that solution to meet the need? And what was the need that created SOAR?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. Really, it was started by bipartisan effort between a Democratic governor, Republican congressman, because of the downturn in the coal industry here. We've, ever since there's been people in this region, there's been an extractive industry, timber, coal, something along those lines, and we lost about 12,000 jobs of 18,000 jobs over about a 6 to 8 year time frame. So 2/3 of an industry. Wow. And so this was the response to say, we've got to come up with a plan for our region. And the governor and congressman brought people together to say, let's chart our own path. And so the need was built around, we need jobs in this region. The youth is leaving. And when we did the numbers, we found out we needed to put 30,000 people to work. That was the moment for me when I said, well, creating jobs is one thing, but when are we finished? This is an organization that should eventually accomplish a goal, and what should that be? And so that was the need. I mean, that's the need in the region is to employ 30,000 people.
And what happened toward that goal?
Yeah, so we realized, I'd read every plan for the region since 1960. There's been lots of, commissions together and plans, and I realized they were all great plans, but none of them had they been accomplished completely were actually plans that breached this 30,000 number goal. So we realized that in order to accomplish outcomes that have never been achieved, you got to do things that have never been done. And really bringing this innovative entrepreneurial mindset and also technology, which when we listened to the region said it themselves. We listened to 3,000 people and 10 different working groups on health, tourism, recruitment, workforce. Everyone, a priority was connectivity, broadband connectivity. So we took what the region said, built this plan called the Blueprint for the Future of Appalachia, which is not your traditional, we need to recruit companies, grow existing companies, do entrepreneurship. A much broader and comprehensive look. And remote work was one of the things that came out of that. We're probably, in all, we're well over 5,000 new jobs in the region in 6 years, both from remote work, new startups, new companies that located here, expansion of existing companies, that we had some hand in the work. For those projects, we can trace to about 5,000. But really, this was just a region taking ownership and believing in new ideas. We were just kind of we were the one that empowered them to do it.
That is just excellent. What? Trying to think. My goodness, you just said so many things that I could jump on there. What about? So what's happening, I guess, follow up, if you had a need for 30,000 and we got maybe 5,000 covered, what's happening with the rest of the 25,000 people?
Yeah, I think
that had the need.
Yeah, I think it's, this is in our region, that 25 to 30,000, some of those have been employed before and are now unemployed. Some of those are, is generational poverty. Mm-hmm. And so this is really a lifetime effort. There's a bit of poverty alleviation and economic development and very boots on the ground things that need to happen to help shift this needle. I think we're at a kind of a launching point that we've changed the trajectory based on the work that is happening. As we continue to move this way, we'll continue to keep adding to those numbers, especially on the remote work side. That's a place where over 3,000 of those 5,000 are remote jobs. And so we're continuing to build relationships and add jobs there.
So did you already have the broadband infrastructure in place, or did you have to build that?
We had 5 or 6 counties maybe that had, fiber to the premise, gigabit communities. And then, really working in half the state. Some counties are great, some are not so great. It's really not a one size fits all. So there's definitely lots of work been put forward on the infrastructure side. And even the launch of a $300 million statewide project called Kentucky Wired, where the state is building its own broadband backbone network to every county seat in the state that will allow local providers to tap into it and resell, broadband at a cheaper level. And so that is now turned on in Eastern Kentucky, and lots of the last mile planning has been built out in different communities. Really, it's a community by community basis on how that's being deployed. We've really stepped back, and yes, we know that's important, but we've really focused on how do we prove we can leverage it to build economies in rural communities, and the demand side of it. And we feel like if we create demand, somebody will provide the service. So we've really put a lot of energy there, talking about remote work, digital entrepreneurship, online education, learning. And then with COVID, I mean, we were doing this for the last 6 years, and there were a lot of people who thought we were crazy at some time that are now like, oh, okay, yeah, yeah, that's critically important.
Yeah, an emergency creates the, I'll say the duh moment.
Yeah.
Yes.
So at what point in time, you say there was kind of some hesitant of recreation of the model of economic development, which you have done, because as the model goes, and it's let's go recruit. All we need is a company to bring 200-300 jobs, and that will start the floodgates. What kind of effort was there made by SOAR or by you to help change that culture?
I think just defining that first need. Anytime you're going to do things that have never been done, there's got to be a complete discontentment with the status quo. Like people really have to understand, like, the way things are is not good enough. And so I think identifying that 30,000 number, it's really easy to say, oh, we exist to create jobs, because then if you create 5, you've accomplished your mission, right? But when we clearly defined that goal and we said, wait, we lost 12,000 coal mining jobs. Before we lost those 12,000, our counties were in the bottom 10% of the country economically before we lost those jobs. And then to look at every industrial park that we have and say, if we filled up every industrial park, we couldn't even create as many jobs as we lost. And then we're still back to last in the country. And so really being able to define and say, that's a part of the solution, but it can't be the only solution. I think really understanding that need and painting that picture of where we currently are and where we're trying to get to, and then connecting those 2 dots, critically important to people seeing. Now we've still got lots of people that are waiting for the next factory to solve all the problems, but we've also built a huge contingent of people who understand and respect one another's work, both in the workforce side, industry recruitment, entrepreneurship, really getting them on the same team and say, we're actually all working toward the future of Appalachia.
So you have a lot of teleworkforce and people for working from home, and you have had some self-discovery of what type of companies are these people working for?
Yeah, it started out, primarily kind of customer service type jobs. So, maybe Hilton Hotels. If you call to book a room at, any Hilton Hotel, it's an 800 number that no longer goes to a call center. It's typically someone sitting at home. U-Haul, if you call to rent a U-Haul, it's someone sitting at home. If you call the back of your health insurance card to talk to a telehealth nurse, that nurse is most times in their own home. And so those are the types of jobs of where we started. And what we found is we built relationships with these national employers that were doing this there was no other region that was focused on it. And we had an existing small program that we helped really scale up and add locations and resources. That really takes the work off of the companies, the hiring, the talent managers back, and that we help do local job interviews, sort through potential candidates based upon expectations, and kind of give them a list, ones that have already kind of been gone through and said, we think these will work before they start doing interviews. And we found a lot of success in that. Well, 3,000 placements in 4 years. And companies saying that you're the only place we do full on remote hiring effort. You're the only place in the country where we do this, where like when we think of we're going to hire remote people, we think about you all. And that's pretty incredible.
So is it like an onboarding process then?
Yeah, onboarding. So we have the program's called Teleworks USA, but they have a hub. They'll go into a rural community. They'll work with an internet provider, the local mayor, and identify a building, create a Teleworks hub where they have workstations, private offices. They do like a week-long customer service training for anybody that's going to get hired. That's where you go to apply. If you want to go work for U-Haul, you can go into that place and work and apply, and they help you walk through the job application process. And then you can work from that space for free for up to 3 months. You kind of get your own office. And so you have the support of the staff there and also other people who are working remotely. And then you can stay there longer if you want to rent a space, or most people move into their own homes.
So are you seeing an influx then of people starting to move into the region because of what you're doing?
I think not yet. It's kind of been a strategy to remote, or try to attract talent and people who are working remotely and say, this is we're at the foot of the Appalachian Mountains. There's rivers. It's an incredible place to live with connectivity. So I think that's definitely on the radar. But we've got such a large pool of workforce here. I think most of our effort has been, how do we rechange their thought process, retrain them, and help connect them to jobs that are open right now. That when this really hit me, there's a website called flexjobs.com, and I'd come to that 30,000 number, and I remember I was staying up nights thinking, I wanted to do this work. I don't know how we get to 30,000 jobs. And I got on flexjobs.com. I came across that site, and it's like a remote work it's like an Indeed for remote and flexible work. They only post flexible work jobs. And so I was just searching, and you got on there, and it was kind of reminded me, you can be a teacher online, you can be a nurse online, you can be an accountant. It's not just computer coding, tech. And so they had a dashboard of how many jobs they had posted, and it was just under 32,000. And I went, we just need all those. There we go. We got
just bring them on to us.
And so I literally emailed the CEO of flexjobs.com. Her name's Sarah Suttonfeld, and said, hey, here's what we're trying to do in rural Appalachia. We've had some success. You got great connections with the same companies and other companies that we'd like to work with. And she's a huge believer in remote work. And, I kind of jokingly said in the email, we'll take the 30,000, but ended up on a call with her, and now there's a partnership between them and our local hubs. We went to a conference with them. They introduced us to several companies in DC. And so, that was when I saw that, I went, wait, we can do this. Like, this is not, you don't have to build brick and mortar and have millions of dollars of investment. Like, there's a pretty clear path here to where if we can just reimagine ourselves a little bit. And for the next generation, they're going to be doing it anyway, wherever they land.
Exactly.
So let's figure out how to bring that opportunity to make people see it here.
Well, so that's an interesting point, is that we're talking about shifting culture. We're talking about shifting mindset from decades, generations, maybe hundreds of years of the way you think about how employment must be done. So how is it in your region that today's students are being exposed to new ways of employment and self-employment? What's happening in that sphere?
Yeah, I think for us, one of the things we launched was a campaign called there'safuture.org. And as part of that, we started doing video production. We've gone to people who've got jobs through Teleworks USA. We've gone to their homes. We've interviewed them. We've let them talk about what they're doing. And so we push these out on social media. It's kind of continual story development, narrative development, writing. Not only do we have a plan, but there's being progress made on the plan. And the proof that it's working and who the partners are that are doing it. And so just telling those stories as much as we can and celebrating those. But, once you start getting 1 or 2 and then 50 and then 100 and then 500, word of mouth is the best, right? When someone's telling their niece or nephews like, hey, I work for Apple in Boonville, then that really is where you start to reach. You really start to make a real shift.
So has it been exciting? Are you doing anything in the actual school districts, or is it outside? Are they programs that kids do after school?
Yeah, we've done like some hackathons in the school systems where we brought schools together. There are so many schools. We're working in 54 counties. It's really hard for us to focus. So lots of times we'll work with a co-op that's in all the schools, and they are doing computer coding and tech training and things in the school just to help them see this pathway and this opportunity. And then we did launch in the community college a program called Digital Careers Now in their workforce department, where they have a team on 3 different campuses focused on doing training for remote jobs. So just like you have workforce in a community college to train for the local manufacturer or local employers, except these people are tasked with find the national employers that are hiring remotely and let's create local programs that meet the certifications and needs for those employers.
So
Jared, going back to how it started between the former governor and former congressperson, was that was it like a USDA regional grant that provided some of that seed funding? And then how did you get 54 counties to look at this and everybody on the same page? And I'm sure that those 54 counties are helping support monetarily, helping fund.
Yeah, they're all in. No.
So there's something to work toward.
I was gonna look for that halo above you,
right?
If that was true.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. So initially, the 54 counties, it's the federally designated Appalachian region, the portion of Kentucky. And so the ARC, the Appalachian region, covers 13 states, and almost half of Kentucky is considered part of Appalachia. So when we started the effort, that was the designated area. Of those 54 counties, probably 26 to 28 are truly like coal impacted counties deep in the rural region of Kentucky, where a majority of this work and activity.
Uh-oh. Hang on. Talking about connectivity and broadband, we're having some connectivity issues with you, but that's okay. Now you're back live with us. Okay, so start with the 24 to 28 counties are all in. Well, all right.
Yeah, they're all the Appalachian.
Okay.
It's all right. We're hanging here until the
signal. Good? You got me?
There we go. Now your voice is coming. Okay, so they're all in.
We can see. Can you hear us?
Are we good?
Yep, we are. Can you hear us?
Oh. Gotta love.
I can't hear you all.
Okay.
All right.
Blink once if you're okay. All right. So
what we're talking to Jared Arnett, who is in Eastern Kentucky. He's the executive director of SOAR. Are you back?
Are you there?
SOAR is our Appalachian region. Looks like Jared is we're going to check him out. He's going to come back in. So what we're doing, talking with Jared, is that he's actually on his way transitioning to a new role, and he's going to bop back in just a second here. But we are talking about what he's done in his 6 years at shaping our Appalachian region, all kinds of wonderful things with students and with the community members, and what it's like to shift a culture of thinking. That's one of the big challenges of rural America, is that for up to hundreds of years, if you're on the East Coast, your communities have been there for 300-400 years. And so there's lots of generational thinking that we need to shift into new ways of trying to build business, shape our economies, help our students learn in new ways. And what Jared has done is he's helping to do that in Eastern Kentucky in a 54 county region. And Jared is back.
There he is.
Are you there?
Can you hear us?
Well, apparently we're having some challenges here.
Yep, I'm here.
Oh, there he goes. All
Can
right.
you hear me?
Yeah,
Yes,
we
now,
can.
now,
There we are.
now we can hear you again. That's exciting. So we just kind of gave
Can you-
people
can
an
you hear us?
overview again.
Can you hear us, Jared? You can't. No.
Oh
okay.
my goodness. All
Well,
right.
we want to thank Jared. We'll get with him. We're going to bring him back.
I can't hear you, but the audio's a bit.
Well, how about if you just
There
go
we go.
ahead
Okay.
and
Yeah.
no,
Okay,
he's
well,
gonna pop out again.
So what we'll do is bring Jared back in for kind of the wrap up, but also his next steps and what he has seen on there. Tomorrow they start. SOAR is starting their annual conference, and they usually get about 1,400 people to their annual conference in person, and this is their first chance in their first effort to go live stream with that, or as a all online version of that conference. So we wish them luck down at SOAR for their annual conference. We really appreciate Jared and his expertise on coming back. But remember, it is a long-term process to do this work, to go online, and it's a long-term process to change that culture, but also to develop that need. So as entrepreneurs, we need to see that need and then attach that solution. And in rural America these days, that need is, how do we configure our towns to welcome a remote workforce, whether that's a home-based business or whether that's a teleworker. And these days we have, the figure that I've heard is 50% of our workforce now, because of COVID, is working from home. They're teleworking. So we need to capture that, because things are not going to change. The environment in offices are going to be changing, and they're going to allow their workforce to have kind of a work at home attitude, because that's what workers are wanting these days. And as the boomers retire and the millennials are coming up, and so are the Zers,
the Gen Xers and the Yers and the Zers and all
and
of
the
all
ABCers
those,
are
yeah.
coming up there
All
on
those folks.
that too. So as they do that, we need to reconfigure our communities. We need to plan more of where our communities are. So
We're looking at.
There he is. There, Jared. Can you hear us now?
Yeah, I think I'm good.
Okay.
Yay!
All right.
All right. So
Yeah.
Jared gets to come
Yeah,
in.
yeah.
Tell us real quick, if you could, what's the next step for you then? If this is your swan song week, where can people look for you next?
Yeah, I think I'm going to spend some time, probably the next, probably maybe through the end of the year, kind of charting out my next path. Take some time to think and listen, and spend some time in my company I'm a part of. I'll be putting together a website just for myself, and resources there. JaredArnett.com will be available soon, and then I'll also be. You can reach me at my personal Gmail, arnett.jared@gmail.com. And I'll be launching something probably early next year. But I'm excited to get to work. I have a passion for people. I have a passion for new companies. I have a passion for startups. I have a passion for rural and technology. And I just want to help. I just want to help communities figure this out. We've seen how it can work. And I'll be doing some of that work here. I'm already deeply involved. And, it's weird living in a community and working in so many other communities. I want to spend some time here in Pikeville on some projects, and then I'll kind of work my way back out, hopefully early next year, and start doing some new things.
I'm starting to see kind of a triangle here, because we interviewed a millennial, Matthew Hoagland, who wrote a book about millennials, and he moved to a rural area as a millennial. And so he's kind of helped write that guide, a millennial's guide to moving to a rural area. You have a passion for creating rural areas that can build businesses. And as an entrepreneur, you have a passion for creating and not maintaining. And that's an important point of how deep and passionate entrepreneurs are. They're not maintainers, they're builders. And we're as passionate with you. So I'm starting to see kind of a triangle here, like how we can create something that might really help rural America. So stay tuned, people. Out of the dust and out of the ashes, rise the phoenix. And so here we go. Jared, we want to thank you for taking the time. We apologize for some of the technical issues, but hey, that's the day and age. Not everything works through fiber as well as it should.
Yeah.
So we so appreciate you joining us, Jared. Thank you so very much. We wish you well, and we want to stay in touch. And so thank you to our viewers and to our listeners on our podcast. We will be back tomorrow at 11:30 Central Daylight Time at Rural Community Solutions on our Facebook page or on our YouTube channel. And then we'll have the podcast. You can go to anchor.com. and you can find our podcast for Rural Community Solutions.
So come on back tomorrow. We're going to be talking about what the teleworkforce is wanting and how your community can change the new workforce, actually, what it is, what they look like, what they're wanting, and then how can your community start to adjust to attract that type of workforce. There's some new rules and old rules of corporate and workers and that. So we're going to be going through all of that. So come on back, 11:30 a.m. Central Daylight Time on Rural Community Solutions TV live stream as we talk about the new workforce and telecommuting. So thank you so much. Check our podcast at anchor.fm, and we'll see you tomorrow.
I'm Kim Spillers.
And I'm Frank Spillers.
Thanks for joining Rural Community Solutions, and we wish you a wonderful Wednesday.
Have a great day.